Hi, this is Kitten. I help beginner knitters de-junk all the knitting jargon so they can get on and enjoy the craft. Today is a sneaky little extra technique video because I had a customer ask me specially to talk you through moss stitch, how it works, why it works, and how to know which stitch to put on top of which is really tricky. So let me show you.
Down a little alley in the heart of Kendal town is a tiny independent yarn shop. Welcome to the wonderful world of the kitten and the goat.
Right, when you're working your moss stitch, it's worked knit one, purl one in exactly the same way that your rib stitch is worked. But for some reason people struggle to tell the difference as to where they need to put the stitches to get the effect of the moss stitch. With rib, you're putting all the flat sides together up the front and all the bumpy sides together in a line, so you get that nice liney pattern. When you're working a moss stitch, it's more like a checkerboard pattern with the bumps alternating, really. Now this is double knitting. I've used double knitting because it's bigger for you to see, 9mm needles, and I've been working some stitches. I've just put a bit on here so we can get a clearer view rather than struggling at the bottom. We'll look at the mechanics of the stitches. So when you're doing a purl, your yarn is at the front, your needle goes in the front, your yarn goes around the needle, you bring the stitch to the front, and that gives you a bump. When you're working a knit, the yarn goes behind, you go in the other way, round, and you're taking the stitch to the back. So in purl, you're bringing it to the front, and in knit, you're taking it to the back. And you can see that in the stitches I've done. Let's get to the end and we can show you. Does that show for you? Yes, it does, doesn't it? That you've got a bump in the front, so that was where you worked a purl stitch. That is flat in the front, the bump is at the back. That was a knit stitch. So when you're working the way back, where you've got bumps, you now need a flat bit to get that chessboard effect. And where you've got this flat pieces, you now need a bump in the front. So you have to think, now that needs to be flat at the front. So if I work a knit stitch, it puts the bump at the back and it'll be flat. And I need to bring the bump forward, so that'll be a purl. I've got a bump there, so we need to flatten it out. Oh, that's flat, so we need to bring it forward. That's got the bump there, so we need to make a flat bit. I mean, obviously you don't need to think every stitch because it is literally alternates. Once you get going, you're fine. But I'm just trying to explain as we're going along. You've stopped and you've chatted to somebody and you've forgotten. Oh gosh, I've forgotten. So you think, well, that's flat and that's got a bump. So if it's got a bump, I need to create a flat patch. So I need to do a knit to take the bump to the back, and it gives me a flat patch. So forward, back, forward, back. There is also a double moss stitch, which is knit 2, purl 2. And it's alternates for the next row. It isn't 2 rows of the same thing, it's 1 row, and then you change it. Once you get into 2 rows, you're getting into basket weave. So if we turn round, right, can you see the checkerboard effect starting to appear? There's your bump, there's your flat bit, there's your flat bit, there's your bump, there's a flat bit, there's the bump. This is why I'm trying to do this in a much thicker yarn so you can see it. So what have we got? We've got bumps here, haven't we? So we need flat bits. So we need to put the bump at the back. It gets to be automatic. It does get to be automatic. I always think in the terms of, oh, where's the bump going? Rather than trying to keep track of the stitches, writing it down, and I get confused too easily and I wander off and I forget. But if you think, if you've got, sorry, this is flat, that's got a bump, that's flat, so we need a bump there, so we need to bring that forward, we need to take that back, we need to take that forward, back. Right, see if we can spread it out so you can really see the texture starting to come. We have, there's your bump, there's your flat bit, there's your bump, flat bit, bump, flat bit. See how it creates a raised for the bumps and flat for the background. Both sides will be the same, it's just in a different place because you've got a flat bit and a bump either side of the stitch, so both sides are the same. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit. Anybody else need anything talked through in one of these single dedicated things, then just give me a shout and I'll see what I'll go. Any questions, just let me know. See you soon.